Kang Daeho stood in the great hall of the Galactic Archives, his hands shaking as he held the ancient datapad. The room was massive, with walls that curved up to a crystal dome showing the stars beyond. Hundreds of beings from different worlds sat in floating chairs, their eyes focused on him. Some had blue skin, others had scales, and a few looked like walking trees. But they all shared one thing. They thought his research was foolish. "Honored council members," Daeho began, his voice echoing in the vast space. "I have spent 5 years studying the old star charts from the Outer Rim. In these charts I found references to a species that we have never seen. Admiral Vextar, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, made a sound of disgust. His military uniform was covered with medals from 100 battles. Young Velkarian, we have mapped every system in this galaxy. There are no unknown species." Counselor Nixara nodded in agreement. Her people were known for their business skills, and she controlled trade routes across dozens of worlds. "The Trade Federation has records going back 10,000 years. We would know if such a species existed." But Daeho did not give up. He touched the datapad and a hologram appeared above his head. It showed star maps with strange symbols and numbers. "Look at these charts," he said. "They mention a system called Sol. The beings who lived there called themselves humans. According to these records, they were different from any species we know." The hologram changed, showing drawings of strange creatures. They walked on 2 legs like many species, but they had no scales, no fur, no natural armor. Their skin was thin and looked weak, yet the old records spoke of them with fear and respect. "The ancient texts say these humans could survive in places that would kill other beings," Daeho continued. "They could live in extreme cold and extreme heat. They could go without water for days and still fight. But most strange of all, they could think in ways that no one else could understand." Laughter came from some parts of the great hall. A being with tentacles for arms waved them dismissively. "Fairy tales, young one. These are just stories told to frighten children." Admiral Vextar stood up, his 4 arms crossed. "Even if such beings existed, they would be no match for the hegemony fleet. We have conquered every world that has opposed us. And yet," Daeho said quietly, "every conquered world has legends about humans. Different worlds, different languages, but the same stories. They speak of beings who never gave up, who found ways to win when winning was impossible." Far across the galaxy, Captain Lee Boram sat in the command chair of her exploration ship, the Star Whisper. She was a member of the Velkarian Space Service like Daeho, but where he studied the past, she searched for new discoveries in the present. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we are receiving a strange signal from Sector 7 Alpha." Boram turned toward the main screen. Sector 7 Alpha was at the very edge of known space. No one lived there. No one even traveled there, because it was too dangerous. "What kind of signal?" she asked. "It contains mathematical sequences, Captain, but also something else. Something we have never heard before." Boram ordered her ship to investigate. As they flew toward the signal, her science officer worked to decode the transmission. Hours passed as they traveled through empty space, passing dead stars and floating rocks. "I have translated part of the signal," the science officer announced. "The mathematics are simple but elegant, but there is another part that makes no sense. It seems to be patterns of sound arranged in complex ways." "Play it," Boram ordered. The bridge filled with the strangest sounds any of them had ever heard. It was not like the musical traditions of any known species. It had rhythm and melody, but it stirred emotions in ways that their own music could not. Some of the crew members found themselves moving to the beat without thinking. "Where is this coming from?" Boram asked. "Unknown, Captain. But the signal is very old. It has been traveling through space for over 400 years. Boram stared at the empty space ahead of them. 400 years ago, the galaxy had been very different. The three great powers, the hegemony, the Trade Federation, and the Crystal Empire, had just finished their last war. Since then, there had been peace. But it was a careful peace. Each power watched the others, ready to fight if the balance changed. "Captain," the communications officer said, "I found something else in the signal. It contains star charts." The main screen showed a map of space, but it was unlike any map they knew. It showed star systems that existed, but the names were wrong. Earth was called Terra. The hegemony homeworld was called by an ancient name that no one used anymore. "These charts are old," Boram said, "but they are also very accurate. Whoever made them knew our galaxy better than we thought possible." Back in the archives, Day-Ho was finishing his presentation. The council members looked bored, except for a few who seemed interested despite themselves. "The last human signals were detected over 400 years ago," Day-Ho said. "After that, nothing. Most scholars believe they destroyed themselves in a war. Others think they simply died out. But what if they are still out there?" Admiral Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the hall. "Even if they exist, what threat could they be? We have weapons that can destroy entire planets. We have fleets that number in the thousands. These mythical humans, if they are real, would be primitives compared to us." "Perhaps," Day-Ho said, "but the old records warn us not to underestimate them. They say that humans do not fight like other species. They do not follow the rules of war that we understand." "Counselor." Nixara leaned forward in her floating chair. Despite her dismissive words earlier, something about the young researcher's passion made her listen. "What do you mean?" she asked. "Human warfare was based on adaptation," Day-Ho explained, "while other species would use the same tactics over and over. Humans would change their approach in the middle of battle. They would use their environment as a weapon. They would sacrifice safety for victory in ways that seemed insane but somehow worked." He touched his data pad again, and the hologram showed battle diagrams from the ancient texts. "Look at this battle from their world's history. A small human force was surrounded by enemies that outnumbered them 100 to 1. Any rational being would surrender. Instead, the humans used the winter cold as an ally. They retreated deeper, into the frozen lands, leading their enemies into a trap made of ice and starvation." The hall was quiet now. Even the skeptics were listening. "Or this space battle," Day-Ho continued. "Human ships were smaller and weaker than their enemies. So, they hid in an asteroid field that their enemies thought was too dangerous to enter. When the enemy fleet passed by, the humans emerged and attacked from all sides using the asteroids for cover." Admiral Vextar frowned. Such tactics were beyond his understanding. The hegemony way was to meet enemies head-on with superior force. "These are just stories," he said. But his voice was less certain than before. "Maybe," Day-Ho agreed. "But stories that appear on every world we have ever found. Stories that are too detailed and too consistent to be mere fiction." He looked around the great hall, meeting the eyes of as many council members as he could. I propose that we send expeditions to search for evidence of these humans. If they are extinct, we should learn from their history. If they still exist, he paused, then we should find them before they find us. The council voted that day to officially classify humans as an extinct mythological species. But 3 members voted differently. Admiral Vextar voted to investigate, though for military reasons. Councilor Nixara saw potential profit in human technology, and Sage Zenthira of the Crystal Empire was simply curious about beings who could think so differently. None of them knew that at that very moment Captain Boram was following a signal that would change everything they thought they knew about their galaxy. Commander Park Jin-woo stared at the communications screen in disbelief. After 30 years of listening to the stars, this was the moment every person on Earth had been waiting for. The message was short and simple, but it changed everything. Greetings, unknown species. This is an automated first contact protocol from the Galactic Council. Please respond with your species name, home system, and current population. A diplomatic team will be sent to establish formal relations. Jin-woo read the message again, then called Admiral Kim Hyejin immediately. The Admiral was in her office at the United Fleet headquarters, reviewing reports from the outer system construction yards. Admiral, Jin-woo said, his voice tight with excitement and worry. We have received alien contact. Hyejin sat up straight. She had been preparing for this day since she joined the fleet 20 years ago. Send me everything. I am calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Within hours, the most important people on Earth were gathered in a secure room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. President Seo Min-ho sat at the head of the table, flanked by Admiral Hyejin and Dr. Choi So-young, Earth's leading expert on alien languages. What do we know? The president asked. Dr. Choi activated a holographic display. The message is in 17 different languages. We have been working to decode them for the past 6 hours. The good news is that their mathematics are similar to ours. The bad news is more complex. She touched a control, and the display changed to show star charts and population data. According to this message, we are not dealing with just one alien species. The Galactic Council represents dozens of different worlds and billions of beings. They have been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Admiral Hyejin leaned forward. What about their military capabilities? Unknown, Dr. Choi replied, but the message assumes that any species receiving it would already know about galactic civilization. They seem surprised that we exist at all. Engineer Nam Tae-sung, who had been quietly studying the technical data, spoke up. Admiral, there is something else. According to their star charts, they have been watching our section of the galaxy for centuries, but they list the Sol system as uninhabited. How is that possible? President Seo asked. Either their sensors are not as good as they think, Nami replied, or we have been hiding better than we knew. Meanwhile, Captain Yoon Ji-hoon was preparing his ship, Terra's Edge, for a reconnaissance mission. His vessel was one of Earth's most advanced scout ships, designed to be invisible to most sensors. If humanity was going to make contact with aliens, they needed to know what they were dealing with first. Captain, his navigator called out, we have the coordinates for the nearest alien outpost. It is 3 light years away, at the edge of what they call hegemony space. Ji-hoon studied the star charts that had come with the alien message. The galaxy was divided between 3 major powers. The hegemony controlled the military routes and strategic systems. The Trade Federation managed commerce and resource distribution. The Crystal Empire kept to themselves, but were said to possess Advanced technology. Set course for the hegemony outpost, Ji-hoon ordered. But keep us far enough away that their sensors cannot detect us. As Terra's Edge jumped into hyperspace, Dr. Choi was making an alarming discovery back on Earth. She had been comparing the alien star charts with human historical records, looking for any mention of Earth or humans in galactic databases. "Admiral Haye-jin," she called excitedly, "you need to see this." Haye-jin hurried to the linguistics lab, where Dr. Choi had several screens showing ancient alien texts. "I found references to humans in their historical archives," Dr. Choi said. "But they list us as an extinct mythological species." "Mythological?" Haye-jin repeated. "According to their records, humans were a legendary species that supposedly lived at the edge of the galaxy centuries ago. They describe us as being extremely aggressive, highly adaptable, and dangerously unpredictable. Most alien scholars believe we never existed at all." Dr. Choi brought up more files. "But here is the interesting part. Every alien culture has stories about humans. They call us different names, but the descriptions are always similar. Beings who could survive in impossible conditions, who thought in ways that other species could not understand, and who never surrendered no matter how hopeless the situation became." Admiral Haye-jin read through the files with growing amazement. The aliens had been telling stories about human warfare tactics, human exploration, and human stubbornness for thousands of years. "But they thought it was all fiction. How is this possible?" she asked. "I think our ancestors had contact with the galaxy long ago," Dr. Choi replied. "But something happened. Maybe a war, maybe a disaster. The contact was lost, and over time, the memory of humans became legend." Captain Ji-hoon's ship reached the hegemony outpost after 2 days of travel. What he found there both impressed and worried him. The outpost was huge, built into an asteroid the size of a small moon. Ships came and went constantly, carrying goods and troops between different systems. "Captain," his sensor officer reported, "their technology is definitely more advanced than ours. Their ships are faster, and their weapons are more powerful. But there is something strange about their designs." "What do you mean?" Ji-hoon asked. "All of their ships follow the same basic pattern. Same shape, same weapon placement, same engine configuration. It is like they have one design that they use for everything, just making it bigger or smaller depending on the purpose." Ji-hoon studied the alien ships through his telescope. His officer was right. There was no creativity in their designs, no adaptation to different purposes. Every ship looked like it had been built from the same blueprint. "Keep watching," he ordered. "I want to know how they fight, how they think, how they solve problems." Back on Earth, engineer Nam Tae-sung was working with a team of scientists to analyze the alien technology described in their first contact message. What they found was encouraging. "Admiral," he reported to Haye-jin, "their technology is advanced, but it follows very rigid patterns. They seem to prefer one solution for each problem, then use that solution everywhere." "What does that mean for us?" Haye-jin asked. "Human technology has always been about adaptation," Nam explained. "We build ships that can be modified for different missions. We create weapons that can be adjusted for different targets. Our whole approach is based on flexibility." He showed her designs for human ships that could reconfigure themselves during battle, changing from exploration vessels to fighters to cargo haulers as needed. "The aliens seem to build one type of ship for each purpose," Nam continued. "A warship is only a warship. A cargo ship is only a cargo ship. They do not seem to understand the concept of multi-purpose design." Dr. Choi joined the meeting with more disturbing news. I have been monitoring alien communications. 3 different groups are already discussing what to do about us. She activated a recording of alien voices speaking in their translated languages. The hegemony wants to determine if we are a military threat. The Trade Federation is interested in our resources and technology. The Crystal Empire seems curious about our mental capabilities. And, Admiral Hai-Jin prompted, none of them are talking about peaceful coexistence, Dr. Choi said grimly. They all see us as something to be controlled, exploited, or eliminated. President Seo called another emergency meeting. This time, he included representatives from every major nation. On Earth, we have a choice to make, he announced. We can reveal ourselves to the galaxy and hope for the best. Or we can continue to hide while we prepare for the worst. Admiral Hai-Jin stood up. Mr. President, I recommend that we do both. Send a diplomatic mission to make peaceful contact, but also activate the hidden fleet. Murmurs went around the room. The hidden fleet was Earth's most closely guarded secret. For 50 years, human engineers had been building ships in the asteroid belt and beyond, using resources from the outer planets. The fleet was designed to remain hidden until humanity needed it most. How many ships do we have? Asked the representative from the European Union. Enough, Admiral Hai-Jin replied, and more importantly, they are designed using human principles, adaptable, innovative, and built to do the impossible. Captain Ji-hoon sent his first report from the alien outpost that evening. What he had observed worried the Earth Defense Council. The hegemony operates like a traditional military, his message said. They follow strict rules and procedures. They do not adapt to new situations quickly, but they have thousands of ships and millions of soldiers. He had also observed their training exercises. Their tactics are based on overwhelming force. They do not use deception or creative strategy. They simply attack with more ships than their enemy can handle. Dr. Choi had translated more alien communications. The galactic powers are planning to send investigation fleets to our system. Each one wants to be the first to make contact with the mythical humans. How long do we have? President Seo asked. 3 months, maybe 4, she replied. Admiral Hai-Jin looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Then we need to decide now. Do we reveal ourselves as peaceful explorers, hoping for friendship? Or do we show them that the legends were true? The vote was close, but in the end, humanity chose both paths. They would send diplomats and offer peace, but they would also prepare for war, because the Leggy, Kang Dae-ho, had never been so excited in his life. The discovery near the neutron star was everything he had hoped for and more. The derelict ship floating in that deadly radiation field was definitely human, and it was impossible. How is it? Still intact? Asked Dr. Lim Yu-jin, the Valkyrian engineer who had joined his research team. She stared at the readings from their long-range sensors. Nothing should survive that close to a neutron star. The radiation alone should have destroyed any known material years ago. Dae-ho studied the ship through their telescope. It was unlike any vessel in the galactic databases. Where alien ships were smooth and curved, this human ship had sharp angles and visible armor plating. Where alien ships used single large engines, this one had dozens of smaller thrusters placed all over its hull. The design makes no sense, Dr. Yu-jin continued. Why would anyone build a ship like that? It looks like they took parts from different ships and welded them together. Maybe that is exactly what they did, Dae-ho replied. Look at the hull. Plating. See how some sections are different colors? I think this ship was repaired and modified many times. The humans kept adding new parts as they needed them. Captain Lee Bo-Ram received Dae-Ho's request for investigation with mixed feelings. Her ship, the Star Whisper, was not designed for dangerous rescue missions, but the discovery of an actual human ship was too important to ignore. Set course for the neutron star system, she ordered her crew. But keep us at a safe distance. We will use drones to examine the derelict. The journey took 3 days. As they approached the system, Bo-Ram could not help but wonder what kind of beings would fly a ship so close to one of the most dangerous objects in the galaxy. Neutron stars were collapsed suns that spun at incredible speeds, creating radiation. Fields that could kill most life forms in minutes. "Captain," her science officer called out, "I am detecting something unusual about the human ship." "What kind of unusual?" Bo-Ram asked. "It appears to be slowly moving away from the neutron star, not drifting, actually moving under its own power." Bo-Ram felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying there might be someone alive on that ship?" "Unknown, Captain. But something is controlling its movement." Meanwhile, General Krexdar of the Hegemony had been monitoring communications from the research station. When he learned about the human ship, he immediately ordered a fleet to intercept it. "If these humans are real," he told his officers, "then their technology could give us a great advantage over our enemies. We will capture this ship and learn their secrets." His fleet was impressive. 12 warships led by his flagship, the Iron Fist. Each ship carried hundreds of soldiers and enough firepower to destroy a small moon. General Krexdar was confident that no single alien vessel could stand against them. On Earth, Admiral Kim Hye-jin was reviewing reports from Captain Yoon Ji-hoon when an urgent message arrived from their listening posts. The message had been transmitted from deep space and decoded by Dr. Choi So-young. "Admiral," Dr. Choi said as she entered the command center, "we have intercepted Hegemony military communications. They are moving to capture one of our ships." "One of our ships?" Hye-jin asked in confusion. "All of our vessels are accounted for?" "Not all of them," Dr. Choi replied grimly. "They found the eternal journey." Admiral Hye-jin felt her blood turn cold. The eternal journey had been lost over 300 years ago during humanity's first attempt to explore beyond the solar system. The ship had been an experimental vessel equipped with the most advanced technology Earth could build at the time. "Is there any chance the crew is still alive?" she asked. "Unknown," Dr. Choi replied. "But if they are about to be attacked by an entire Hegemony fleet." President Seo Min-ho made the decision immediately. "Send a rescue mission. We cannot let our people fall into alien hands." Admiral Hye-jin nodded. "I will dispatch the Aurora Strike Group, but this means revealing ourselves earlier than planned." "So be it," President Seo replied. "We do not abandon our own." Captain Bo-Ram was preparing to launch her drones when her sensors detected multiple ships approaching at high speed. Her communications officer quickly identified them as Hegemony warships. "Captain," the officer called out, "the lead ship is ordering us to withdraw immediately. They claim authority over this system." Bo-Ram frowned. The neutron star system was in neutral space, far from any claimed territory. "Tell them we are conducting scientific research under galactic law." The response came quickly. "They are ordering us to surrender the human derelict to Hegemony forces. If we refuse, they will open fire." Dr. Yu-jin looked up from her instruments. "Captain, we cannot fight 12 warships with one research vessel." "No," Bo-Ram agreed. "But we can do something else." She opened a communication channel to the human ship. She had no idea if anyone would respond, but she had to try. Unknown human vessel. This is Captain Lee Boram of the Velkarian research ship Star Whisper. Hegemony forces are approaching with hostile intent. If you can hear this message, I recommend you take evasive action. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then her communications officer looked up in shock. "Captain, the human ship is responding." A voice came through the speakers, speaking in accented galactic standard. "Velkarian vessel, this is Engineer Nam Ki-Su of the Earth ship Eternal Journey. We have been monitoring your transmissions. Are you the ones who have been telling stories about humans?" Boram was amazed. Not only was someone alive on that impossible ship, but they spoke galactic languages. "Yes," she replied. "Some of us believe humans are real. Others think you are myths." "Well," the human voice replied with what sounded like humor, "I guess we are about to prove which side is right." General Krexdar watched the exchange with growing anger. "Order the research ship to move away. Prepare to capture the human vessel." But as his fleet moved into position, something unexpected happened. The human ship began to change. Sections of its hull shifted and reconfigured. Weapons appeared from hidden compartments. The ship that had looked like a helpless derelict suddenly bristled with defensive systems. "What kind of ship can modify itself like that?" asked Krexdar's tactical officer. "Unknown, General. Our databases show no record of such technology." On the Eternal Journey, Engineer Nam Ki-Su was working frantically to bring all systems online. The ship had been in hibernation mode for decades, using minimal power to keep basic life support running. Now he needed to wake up systems that had been sleeping for longer than most aliens lived. "Come on," he muttered as he worked. "Do not fail me now." The ship's AI spoke with a calm female voice. "All defensive systems are now online. Shall I activate combat protocols?" "Not yet," Nam replied. "Let us see what they do first." "General," Krexdar sent a final ultimatum. "Human vessel, you will surrender immediately or be destroyed." The response came quickly. "General Krexdar of the Hegemony, this is the Earth ship Eternal Journey. We claim sovereign immunity under galactic law. Any attack on this vessel will be considered an act of war." Krexdar laughed. "What war? You are one ship against 12. You cannot seriously think you can fight us." "General," the human voice replied, "you are about to learn why your people tell stories about us." Krexdar gave the order to attack. 6 of his ships opened fire with particle beams and plasma cannons. The energy beams struck the human ship directly. When the light faded, the Eternal Journey was still there, completely undamaged. "Impossible," breathed Krexdar's tactical officer. "Nothing can withstand that much firepower." The human ship began to move, but it did not flee as expected. Instead, it flew directly toward the Hegemony fleet, using the neutron star's gravitational field to increase its speed. "It is using the star itself as a slingshot," observed the tactical officer with professional admiration. "The pilot would have to calculate the trajectory perfectly, or the ship would be torn apart." As the Eternal Journey accelerated, its weapons began to fire. But these were not like any weapons in the galactic databases. Instead of trying to overpower the Hegemony shields with brute force, the human weapons seemed to adapt to each target. They found weak points in the enemy shields and exploited them with surgical precision. One by one, Hegemony ships began to lose power and drift helplessly. Their crews were unharmed, but their vessels were completely disabled. "How are they doing this?" Krexdar demanded. His science officer studied the sensor readings. Their weapons are modifying their frequency and intensity in real time. Every shot is different. Our shields cannot adapt fast enough. Captain Boram watched the battle with amazement. The human ship was outnumbered 12-1, but it fought like nothing she had ever seen. Instead of trying to destroy the enemy ships, it seemed to be carefully disabling them one by one. "Why are they not killing their attackers?" Dr. Eugen asked. "I do not know," Boram replied, "but I think we are seeing why humans became legends." The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, 11 hegemony ships drifted powerless in space. Only General Krexadar's flagship remained operational, and that was only because the human ship had stopped attacking. "General," the human voice said over the communication channel, "your crews are safe, but your ships are disabled. I suggest you call for rescue and return to hegemony space. And General, tell your superiors that humanity is no longer a myth." As the hegemony ships called for help, Engineer, the neutral space station Haven's Rest, had never hosted such an important meeting. Built in the empty space between the three great powers, it served as a place where different species could meet without any single government controlling the talks. Ambassador. Oh Yun-seo looked out of her ship's viewport at the massive station. It was beautiful in its own way, with crystal domes and metal towers reaching out like the arms of a sea creature. Ships from dozens of worlds were docked there, representing every major species in the galaxy. "Ambassador," Captain Jang Wubin said from the pilot's seat, "our escort ships are in position. Dr. Choi has confirmed that all translation systems are working properly." Oh nodded. This was the moment that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the battle at the neutron star, and news of the encounter had spread across known space. Some called it proof that humans were real. Others insisted it was an elaborate hoax. "Take us in, Captain," she said. The human delegation consisted of 3 ships. O's diplomatic vessel, the New Horizon, was flanked by 2 escort ships commanded by experienced captains. The ships themselves were designed to impress without threatening. They showed off human engineering skills while making it clear that humanity came in peace. As they approached the docking bay, O could see alien ships moving aside to make room. Some of the alien crews came to their viewports to stare at the mythical human vessels. Inside the station, Counselor Nixara was reviewing trade data while she waited for the humans to arrive. As a representative of the Trade Federation, she was more interested in profit than legend. But even she had to admit that human technology could be valuable. "The preliminary reports are fascinating," she told her aide. "Human ships can reconfigure themselves during flight. Their weapons adapt to different targets automatically. If we could obtain this technology, the hegemony and the Crystal Empire are thinking the same thing," her aide replied. "Admiral Vextar has brought a full battle group to this meeting. He claims it is for protection, but everyone knows he wants to test human capabilities." Admiral Vextar was indeed planning more than just observation. In his private quarters aboard the dreadnought Eternal Might, he studied tactical reports from General Krexdar's encounter with the human ship. "One ship disabled 11 of our vessels," he told his staff officers. "Either General Krexdar is incompetent, or these humans are more dangerous than we thought." "The General's record is excellent, sir," one officer replied. "His tactics worked perfectly against the Crystal Empire in the border conflicts." "Then we must assume the humans represent a new type of threat," Vextar concluded. "One that our traditional methods cannot handle." The third major player at the meeting was Sage Zenthira of the Crystal Empire. Unlike the others, she was not interested in military power or economic gain. Her people valued knowledge and understanding, above all else. She had spent weeks studying every available record of human behavior, from ancient legends to the recent battle reports. What she found both fascinated and worried her. "They think differently than we do," she explained to her fellow sages over a quantum communication link. "Every species we know follows predictable patterns of behavior. But humans seem to delight in doing the unexpected." When the human ships docked, Ambassador O was greeted by a reception committee representing all three powers. She noted how each group positioned itself. The hegemony representatives stood at attention like soldiers. The Trade Federation delegates examined everything with calculating eyes, and the Crystal Empire sages observed quietly from the background. "Welcome to Haven's Rest," said Station Administrator Veltar, a neutral species that managed the facility. "We are honored to host this historic meeting." Ambassador O bowed politely. "Thank you for arranging this gathering. Humanity is eager to establish peaceful relations with all members of the galactic community." The first formal session took place in the station's main conference hall. As O entered, she noticed how the other delegates studied her. She was the first human most of them had ever seen, and she could feel their curiosity and suspicion. "Before we begin," Admiral Vextar said, "I must address the incident in Hegemony Space 3 months ago. One of your ships attacked our vessels without provocation." O had prepared for this accusation. "Admiral, our records show that Engineer Nam Ki-su acted in self-defense after your forces threatened to capture his vessel. He disabled your ships without harming any crew members. This shows remarkable restraint for someone who was outnumbered 12-1. "Restraint?" Vextar repeated. "Or an inability to destroy our ships completely?" Captain Jang, who was seated behind O, spoke up. "Admiral, if Engineer Nam had wanted to destroy your ships, they would have been destroyed. Human weapons were designed to give us options. We prefer to win without killing when possible." This statement caused murmurs around the room. Most galactic species saw warfare as an all-or-nothing proposition. The idea of deliberately choosing not to kill defeated enemies was strange to them. "Counselor," Nixara leaned forward. "Ambassador, we are very interested in human technology. Perhaps we could arrange some kind of trade agreement? We have many resources that your people might find valuable." "We are open to trade," O replied carefully, "but only with partners who respect our sovereignty and independence. We will not become anyone's puppet." Dr. Choi So-young, who was monitoring alien communications from her position near the translation equipment, noticed an increase in encrypted messages between the various delegations. Each group was already planning how to deal with humanity. The real test came when Sage Zenthira requested a demonstration of human problem-solving abilities. She presented a complex engineering puzzle that had stumped galactic scientists for decades. "This is a theoretical problem," she explained. "How would you design a power system for a space station located between two black holes? The gravitational forces would tear apart any conventional structure." The alien delegates expected the humans to ask for time to study the problem. Instead, Dr. Choi stood up and walked to the presentation screen. "The solution is not to fight the gravitational forces," she said, beginning to draw diagrams. "Use them. Design the station as a flexible network of connected modules. When gravitational stress builds up in one area, the modules can separate temporarily, then reconnect when the stress passes." She continued drawing, showing how the station could actually harvest energy from the gravitational interactions between the black holes. The key is to stop thinking of space stations as solid, unchanging structures, Dr. Choi concluded. In an environment like this, flexibility is more important than strength. The alien delegates stared at the solution in amazement. In 15 minutes, Dr. Choi had solved a problem that their best scientists had worked on for years. Impossible, breathed one of the Trade Federation engineers. The calculations alone should take months. Not if you approach the problem differently, Dr. Choi replied. Humans have learned to adapt our thinking to match the situation. We do not try to force the universe to fit our preconceptions. This demonstration had exactly the effect Ambassador O had hoped for. It showed human capabilities without appearing threatening. But she could see in the aliens' faces that they were beginning to understand what they were dealing with. Captain Yoon Ji-hoon, who had been observing the meeting from his hidden position outside the station, sent a coded message to Admiral Hae-jin on Earth. All three powers are making secret preparations, his message said. The hegemony is positioning battle fleets near human space. The Trade Federation is organizing an economic blockade. The Crystal Empire is mobilizing their most advanced ships. How long do we have? Admiral Hae-jin replied. Days, not weeks, Yoon answered. They are afraid of us, but they still think they can control us if they act quickly. Back in the conference hall, the talks were breaking down. Despite Ambassador O's efforts, each alien power was making demands that humanity could not accept. The hegemony wanted humans to submit to galactic military authority. The Trade Federation insisted on exclusive rights to human technology. The Crystal Empire demanded access to human educational and psychological methods. We cannot agree to any of these terms, Ambassador O said firmly. Humanity will participate in galactic civilization as equals, or not at all. Admiral Vexatar stood up, his 4 arms crossed in a gesture of authority. You speak of equality, but you are one species against dozens. You have perhaps a few dozen ships against our thousands. How can you possibly enforce your demands? Ambassador O smiled, and for the first time, the alien delegates saw something that made them uncomfortable. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that others did not. Admiral, she said quietly, you still think of us as myths and legends. Perhaps it is time you learned the difference between a story and reality. Captain Jang received a coded signal from Earth and nodded to Ambassador O. The moment they had been preparing for had arrived. In the interest of honesty, O announced, I should inform you that this diplomatic mission represents only a small part of humanity's capabilities. We came here hoping for peace, but we also came prepared for the alternative. What alternative? Counselor Nixara asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer. War, O replied simply. 300 years. General Krekstar had waited 3 months for his chance at revenge. When Admiral Vextar ordered him to attack the human colony ship New Sol, he felt a surge of satisfaction. This time, he would not be caught off guard by human tricks. The target is a civilian vessel, he told his fleet commanders. Large, slow, and poorly defended. We will capture it intact and take prisoners for interrogation. His force consisted of 24 warships, including 2 heavy cruisers and his personal command ship. It was more than enough firepower to destroy a small moon, let alone 1 civilian transport. The New Sol was traveling through the asteroid belt of an uninhabited system, carrying 15,000 human colonists to a new world. It was exactly the kind of target General Krekstar preferred, valuable but defenseless. Commander Park Jin-woo was leading the New Seoul's escort squadron when his sensors detected the approaching hegemony fleet. His small force of 6 ships was hopelessly outnumbered, but he had orders to protect the colonists at all costs. "All ships, this is command," he broadcast to his squadron. "We have multiple hostile contacts approaching. Remember your training and follow my lead." Lieutenant Bae Sung-min, commanding the escort ship Thunder Run, checked his weapons systems. "Commander, they outnumber us 4-1. Should we call for reinforcements?" "No time," Park replied. "The nearest human fleet is 6 hours away. We have to hold them here ourselves." On the New Seoul, Captain Yoon Hai-young was coordinating the evacuation of non-essential personnel to the ship's protected core. The colony ship was massive, over 2 kilometers long, but it was designed for transport, not warfare. "How long until we can jump to hyperspace?" she asked her navigation officer. 15 minutes, Captain. The hyperdrive is still charging." Yoon looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. "We do not have 15 minutes. General." Krexdar was confident as his ships entered the asteroid field. His tactical computers had identified the human ships and classified them as light cruisers. Dangerous to small vessels, but no match for his heavy warships. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Disable their engines first, then their weapons. I want prisoners alive." The first exchange of fire lit up the asteroid field. Hegemony plasma cannons reached out toward the human ships, only to strike empty space as the smaller vessels dodged between floating rocks. "They are using the asteroids for cover," reported Krexdar's tactical officer. "Should we clear the field? With gravity bombs?" "No," Krexdar replied. "That would destroy our prize. Send fighters to flush them out." But as hegemony fighters swarmed into the asteroid field, they discovered that the humans had turned the entire area into a trap. Hidden among the larger asteroids were human weapon platforms that had been placed there weeks earlier. "Commander Park," Engineer Nam Tae-sung called from the New Seoul, "all defensive platforms are online. Should I activate them?" "Not yet," Park replied. "Let them get deeper into the field first." Park's ships continued to retreat, drawing the hegemony forces further into the asteroids. To the aliens, it looked like the humans were running scared. They had no idea they were being led into a carefully prepared battlefield. "All ships," Park broadcast on a secure channel, "execute asteroid dance in 3, 2, 1, mark." The human ships suddenly changed direction, no longer fleeing but attacking. But they did not charge directly at the enemy like most species would. Instead, they used the asteroids themselves as weapons. Commander Park's ship, the Seoul's Shield, fired its engines at full power while passing close to a large asteroid. The engine wash pushed the massive rock directly into the path of a hegemony cruiser, which had to choose between taking damage or breaking formation. Lieutenant Bae took a different approach. His ship, Thunder Run, attached magnetic grapples to several smaller asteroids and used them as shields while approaching enemy vessels. When he got close enough, he released the asteroids and let momentum carry them into enemy ships. "Impossible," breathed General Krexdar, as he watched his carefully organized formation dissolve into chaos. "They are using the environment itself as a weapon." Engineer Nam activated the hidden weapon platforms, and suddenly the asteroid field erupted with defensive fire. Plasma beams and missile strikes came from rocks that the hegemony had thought were harmless. "How many platforms did they hide here?" demanded Krexdar. "Unknown, General. Our sensors cannot distinguish between armed asteroids and natural ones." The battle became a deadly game of three-dimensional chess. Human ships would disappear behind asteroids, only to emerge somewhere else entirely. They used gravitational, slingshots to gain speed, magnetic fields to redirect enemy fire, and the asteroids themselves as both weapons and shields. Captain Yoon watched from the New Soul's bridge as her escort ships performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. How are they doing this? Human pilots train in asteroid fields, explained her tactical officer. We learn to think in 3 dimensions while most species think in 2, and we practice using everything around us as a tool. General Krexdar was growing frustrated. His ships were more powerful, but they could not bring their weapons to bear effectively. Every time they fired, the humans were already somewhere else. All ships, form up for a coordinated assault, he ordered. We will blast through the asteroids, if necessary. But as his ships moved into formation, the humans sprang another trap. Commander Park had been waiting for exactly this moment. All ships, execute slingshot assault, he broadcast. The human ships had positioned themselves near the largest asteroids in the field. Using their engines and gravity, they sent several massive rocks flying toward the concentrated hegemony formation. The aliens had to scatter to avoid the improvised projectiles, breaking their formation just as they had organized it. Lieutenant Bay used the confusion to execute the most daring maneuver of the battle. His ship, Thunder Run, attached magnetic grapples to a spinning asteroid and used it to whip around at incredible speed. When he released at the right moment, his ship was launched directly at the hegemony command vessel. Boarding torpedoes away, he announced as his ship fired its complement of assault pods. Before the aliens could react, human Marines were cutting through their hull. The boarding action was led by Sergeant Kim Dong-woo, a veteran of the Mars training facility. His team moved through the alien ship like ghosts, using their knowledge of standard hegemony designs to strike at critical systems. Engine room secured, he reported. Switching to emergency power only. Bridge team, this is Sergeant Kim. We have control of their main computer. Downloading tactical data now. General, Krexdar found himself facing armed humans on his own ship. These were not the weak, mythical beings he had expected. They moved with confidence and skill, their weapons designed for close combat in confined spaces. Surrender your vessel, Sergeant Kim told him calmly. Your crew will not be harmed if you comply. Never! Krexdar snarled, reaching for his sidearm. The human sergeant was faster. His stunner dropped the general before the alien could draw his weapon. Bridge secured, Kim reported. 1 prisoner for interrogation. No casualties on either side. Across the asteroid field, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. Hegemony ships found themselves outmaneuvered, outthought, and overwhelmed by an enemy that fought like no one they had ever faced. General Krexdar is not responding, reported the hegemony second in command. Should we continue the attack? Before anyone could answer, Commander Park's voice came over the communication channels. Hegemony forces. This is Commander Park Jin-woo of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your commanding officer has been captured, and his ship is under our control. You have 2 choices. Withdraw immediately or join him as prisoners. The alien officers looked at their tactical displays. Half their fleet was damaged or disabled. Their command ship was in enemy hands, and the human colony ship had finished charging its hyperdrive. We withdraw, the acting commander finally said. As the hegemony ships limped away from the asteroid field, Captain Yoon prepared the New Soul for its jump to hyperspace. But before they left, she sent a message to Admiral Hye-jin on Earth. Hegemony has shown their true intentions, she reported. They attacked civilians without provocation. The galaxy will know that humanity can defend itself. Engineer Nam made his own report to the human command structure. We captured intact examples of hegemony technology, including their command ship. Our engineers will be very interested in studying their systems. But the most important result of the battle was psychological. Word spread quickly through galactic communication networks. The mythical humans had not only fought back against a superior force, they had won decisively. On dozens of worlds, alien populations heard the same story. Human ships had turned an asteroid field into a weapon. Human pilots had performed impossible maneuvers. Human Marines had captured an enemy command vessel without killing anyone. The legends were not only real, they were understated. General Krex Dar, sitting in a human detention cell, stared at the walls and wondered how everything had gone so wrong. He had attacked what he thought was a helpless civilian ship. Instead, he had discovered that humans did not have helpless ships. They only had ships that were pretending to be helpless until it was time to fight back. Admiral Kim Hye-jin stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity as hundreds of human ships materialized from hyperspace around the Sol system. Operation Prometheus was finally beginning, and the galaxy was about to see what humanity had been building. In secret for the past 50 years, Admiral Captain Jiang Wubin reported from his position at the tactical station. All fleet elements are reporting ready. The hidden fleet is fully operational. Through the main viewport, Hye-jin could see the massive construction yards that had been hidden in the asteroid belt and beyond. What had once looked like mining operations were revealed to be the largest shipbuilding facilities the galaxy had ever seen. "How many ships do we have operational?" she asked. 2,437 combat vessels, replied her aide. Plus support ships, the number rises to over 4,000. Captain Lee Bo Ram, who had been granted temporary assignment to the human fleet, stared in amazement at the sight. In just a few hours, humanity had revealed a fleet larger than most. Galactic powers possessed. "How did you keep this secret for so long?" she asked Dr. Choi So-young, who was serving as the liaison between human and Valkyrian forces. "We learned from history," Dr. Choi replied. "Every species that revealed their full capabilities too early was either conquered or forced into submission. We decided to appear weaker than we were until we could appear stronger than anyone expected." On the hegemony homeworld, Admiral Vextar was receiving reports that made no sense. His intelligence services had estimated human fleet strength at perhaps 50 ships. Now they were reporting thousands of vessels emerging from hiding places throughout human space. "This cannot be accurate," he told his staff. "No species could build such a fleet without us detecting it." "Sir," his intelligence chief replied, nervously, "the reports are being confirmed by multiple sources. The humans have been using their outer planets as construction sites. What we thought were mining colonies were actually shipyards." Vextar studied the tactical reports with growing alarm. Human ship designs were unlike anything in the galactic databases. They seemed to be built for adaptability rather than specialized functions. "Look at this," he said, pointing to images of human vessels. "This ship has the firepower of a destroyer, the sensors of a scout ship, and the cargo capacity of a transport. How is that possible?" "Human engineering appears to focus on multi-purpose designs," his aide explained. "A single ship can be reconfigured for different missions as needed." Meanwhile, Counselor Nixara was holding an emergency session with the Trade Federation leadership. The revelation of human fleet strength had changed all their calculations. "Our economic projections were based on humanity being a minor power," she explained to the assembled delegates. "If they have military parity with us, They cannot be forced into unfavorable trade agreements. What are you suggesting? Asked one of the trade ministers. We need to reconsider our approach, Nixara replied. Instead of trying to control human trade, we should focus on making ourselves valuable to them. The Crystal Empire's response was different. Sage Zenth Era was fascinated rather than alarmed by the revelation of human capabilities. They have been planning this for decades, she told her fellow sages. Not just the ships, but the entire strategy. They revealed themselves only when they were ready to deal with us as equals. Is that not deceptive? Asked one of the younger sages. It is intelligent, Zenthera replied. They learned from observing our conflicts with each other. They saw what happened to species that showed weakness or appeared vulnerable. Engineer Nam Tae Sung was giving Admiral Hyejin a tour of the newest ship designs when they received an urgent communication from Earth. President Seo Min-ho appeared on the screen, looking concerned. Admiral, we are receiving diplomatic messages from all three major powers. They want to renegotiate the treaties that Ambassador Oh was discussing. What kind of renegotiation? Hyejin asked. Complete renegotiation, President Seo replied. They are no longer making demands. Now they are making offers. Dr. Lim Yu-jin, who had been studying human ship designs with growing respect, sent a message to her government recommending immediate alliance with humanity. Their technology is not just advanced, she reported. It represents a completely different philosophy of engineering. Instead of building specialized tools, they build adaptable systems. A human warship can become an exploration vessel or a cargo hauler in a matter of hours. Captain Yoon Ji-hoon was leading a squadron of human ships on a demonstration flight when they encountered a hegemony patrol. The alien ships immediately powered up their weapons, expecting another confrontation. Hegemony vessels, Yoon broadcast. This is Captain Yoon Ji-hoon of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are conducting routine operations in human space. Please state your intentions. The hegemony commander found himself in an awkward position. His 3 ships were facing 12 human vessels, and recent events had shown that human ships were more dangerous than they appeared. We are conducting a routine patrol, he replied. We have no hostile intentions. Acknowledged, Yoon responded. You are welcome to observe our operations from a safe distance. The hegemony ships maintained their distance, while Yoon's squadron demonstrated human ship capabilities. The aliens watched in amazement as human vessels reconfigured themselves in mid-flight, changing from combat formation to exploration pattern to search and rescue configuration. How many different ship types do they have? The hegemony commander asked his tactical officer. Based on what we are seeing, sir, I think they only have one type, but it can become any type they need. Back on Earth, Commander Park Jin-woo was receiving his new assignment from Admiral Hee-jin. The success at the asteroid battle had earned him promotion to lead one of the new integrated squadrons. Your squadron will include ships from 3 different species, Hee-jin explained. Captain Bo-ram will be your second in command, and Dr. Yu-jin will serve as chief engineer. Mixed crews, Admiral? Park asked. The future of the galaxy depends on cooperation, Hye-jin replied. We need to show that different species can work together as equals. Lieutenant Bae Sung-min was adapting well to his new role as a special operations commander. His successful boarding of the hegemony ship had made him famous throughout human space, but he remained focused on his duties. Sir, he reported to Park, the alien crew members are having trouble with our tactical systems. They keep expecting rigid protocols and fixed procedures. Show them how we really operate, Park replied. Humans succeed because we adapt to circumstances. They need to learn that there is no single right way to solve a problem. The integration training was challenging. For all species involved, Captain Bo Ram found herself learning human methods of improvisation and creative problem-solving. Her Valkyrian training had emphasized following established procedures, but human tactics required constant adaptation. "I do not understand," she confessed to Dr. Choi during a break in training. "How can you make tactical decisions without consulting the manual?" "Because every situation is different," Dr. Choi explained. "Manuals tell you what worked before, but humans prefer to figure out what will work now." Dr. Eugene was having similar challenges with human engineering practices. She was used to designs that followed strict standards and protocols. Human designs seemed chaotic by comparison. "Why do you build ships with so many redundant systems?" she asked Engineer Nam. "Because redundancy means survivability," Nam replied. "If one system fails, we have two backups. If the backup fails, we can improvise a third solution using parts from other systems." "But that must be inefficient," Eugene protested. "Inefficient is staying alive when the efficient ship explodes," Nam said with a smile. "We learned long ago that the best plan is the one that works when all the other plans fail." As weeks passed, the integrated crews began to understand each other better. Alien officers learned to appreciate human flexibility, while humans gained respect for alien precision and knowledge. The real test came when Admiral Vex-Tar made his move. Despite the revealed strength of the human fleet, he convinced the hegemony leadership to form an alliance with the Trade Federation. Together, they believed they could force humanity back into hiding. "We cannot allow this human expansion to continue," he argued. "If they become too powerful, they will dominate the entire galaxy." Counselor Nixara, despite her earlier doubts, agreed to the alliance. Economic pressure combined with military threat should be sufficient to contain them. When word of the alliance reached Earth, President Seo called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. "We always knew this might happen," he said. "Two of the three major powers have allied against us. What are our options?" Admiral Hyojin studied the intelligence reports. "They have more ships than us, but their alliance is fragile. If we can prove that we are not a threat to galactic stability, we might convince others to stay neutral. And if we cannot?" asked the President. "Then we do what humans have always done," Hyojin replied. "We find a way to win against impossible odds." Captain Zhang, who had been quietly reviewing tactical data, spoke up. "Admiral, there is something the aliens do not understand about human fleet composition." "What is that, Captain?" "They are counting our ships as if each one has a single purpose," Zhang explained. "They do not realize that the war began not with a single battle, but with 100 smaller conflicts across 20 star systems. Admiral Vex-Tar had learned from General Krexdar's mistakes and avoided direct confrontation with human fleets. Instead, he targeted human supply lines and isolated colonies, hoping to force humanity to spread their forces thin. Captain Yoon Ji-hoon was commanding the defense of the Proxima system when the first major hegemony assault arrived. His fleet of 30 ships faced over 100 enemy vessels, but Yoon had spent months preparing for exactly this scenario. "All ships, implement Dispersal Pattern 7, he ordered. "Remember, we are not trying to destroy them all. We just need to convince them that this system costs more than it is worth." The human ships scattered throughout the system like seeds on the wind. To the hegemony commanders, it looked like the humans were fleeing in panic. They divided their forces to pursue the scattered vessels, not realizing they were walking into a trap. Commander Park Jin-woo was leading one of the dispersed squadrons when he received Yoon's signal. All units, execute convergent strike in 3 minutes. What happened next became known as the Ghost Fleet maneuver. Human ships that had appeared to be fleeing suddenly changed course and converged on predetermined targets. The hegemony forces found themselves facing coordinated attacks from directions they had not expected. "How are they doing this?" demanded the hegemony fleet commander. "Our sensors show them scattered across the entire system." "Sir," his tactical officer replied, "I think they were never actually fleeing. They were positioning themselves for a counterattack." But the real surprise came when the human ships began to coordinate with the system's natural features. Yoon had spent weeks studying the local environment, and his crews had learned to use everything as a tactical advantage. Lieutenant Bae Sung-min was piloting his ship, Thunder Run, when he executed one of the most daring maneuvers of the battle. Flying close to the system's gas giant, he used the planet's magnetic field to hide his ship's energy signature while launching stealth missiles at enemy vessels. "Target acquired," he reported. "Hegemony cruiser Angel of Death is disabled. Moving to next target." Engineer Nam Tae-sung had equipped many of the human ships with field modification kits. During the battle, he worked frantically to adapt captured hegemony weapons for use on human vessels. "Commander Park," he called out over the communications, "I have successfully integrated alien plasma cannons with our targeting systems. We now have weapons that can penetrate their shields. The combination of human adaptability and captured alien technology proved devastating. Hegemony ships that had been designed to fight conventional enemies found themselves unable to cope with an opponent that changed tactics continuously. Meanwhile, Dr. Choi So-young was conducting a very different kind of warfare. From her position aboard the flagship Unity, she was broadcasting messages directly to alien populations across the galaxy. "People of the galaxy," her translated voice said, "humanity does not seek to conquer your worlds or control your lives. We fight only because we refuse to be controlled ourselves." Her broadcasts included footage of human colonies, showing peaceful settlements where different species worked together as equals. Many alien citizens, who had grown tired of the rigid social hierarchies of their own governments, found these images compelling. On the Trade Federation world of Nexus Prime, riots broke out when local populations demanded the same freedoms they saw in human territories. Young aliens began to question why their societies discouraged individual creativity and adaptation. Counselor Nixara was losing control of her own organization as member worlds began to negotiate separate peace treaties with humanity. The economic blockade she had organized was falling apart as traders realized that human goods were both valuable and freely available. "They are not just fighting our fleets," she reported to the Federation Council. "They are undermining our entire social structure." The situation was similar across hegemony space. Admiral Vextar found himself fighting two wars at once, against human forces and against rebellion in his own territories. Captain Lee Bo-ram, now serving as Park's second in command, led a daring raid on a hegemony supply depot. Her mixed crew of humans and Valkyrians demonstrated the effectiveness of integrated operations. "Human tactical thinking combined with Valkyrian precision," she reported after the successful mission. "We captured 3 cargo ships full of weapons and medical supplies without firing a shot." The secret was misdirection. While hegemony forces expected a direct assault, Bo-ram's team had infiltrated the depot disguised as maintenance workers. By the time the aliens realized what was happening, the humans controlled the entire facility. But the most significant development was taking place in Crystal Empire space. Sage Zenthira had convinced her government to remain neutral in the conflict, and her territories had become a refuge for civilians from both sides. "This war serves no one," she announced in a broadcast to both human and alien forces. "It is time for all sides to remember that we share the same galaxy." Her words carried weight because Crystal Empire forces had been helping to evacuate civilians from combat zones. Human and alien refugees worked together in Empire facilities, learning that cooperation was possible despite their government's conflicts. Admiral Kim Hye-jin realized that the war could not be won through military victory alone. The galaxy was too large and the alien populations too numerous for humanity to conquer through force. Instead, she began to focus on demonstrating that human values were worth adopting. "We are not trying to defeat them," she explained to her officers. "We are trying to show them a better way to live." Captain Jang Woo-bin had been leading commerce protection missions when he discovered something that changed the entire nature of the conflict. While escorting a human trade convoy, his ships encountered a disabled alien vessel that was under attack by pirates. "All ships, move to assist," Jang ordered without hesitation. "Sir," his tactical officer protested, "that is a hegemony civilian transport. They are technically our enemies." "They are civilians under attack by pirates," Jang replied firmly. "That makes them people who need help." The rescue operation was successful, and the grateful alien crew began to spread stories about humans who had saved them despite being at war with their government. Similar incidents occurred throughout the galaxy, as human forces consistently chose to protect civilians regardless of their species or allegiance. Engineer Nam developed new technologies that could disable enemy ships without harming their crews. These mercy weapons became standard equipment on human vessels, allowing them to win battles without creating martyrs. "Dead enemies become heroes," he explained to Admiral Hye-jin. "Live enemies become people who remember that you treated them fairly." The war's turning point came when Lieutenant Bay led a Special Forces mission to capture a major hegemony command center. Instead of destroying the facility, his team took control of it intact and used it to broadcast a message throughout hegemony space. "This is Lieutenant Bay Sung-min of the Earth Defense Force," his translated voice announced. "We have captured this facility without harming any of its personnel. The war could end today if your leaders chose peace over pride." The broadcast included video of captured hegemony officers being treated with respect and dignity. Many had been fed better food as prisoners than they had received as soldiers, and some admitted that human detention facilities were more comfortable than their own barracks. As the war continued, it became clear that humanity was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the right to change galactic civilization itself. Admiral Vextar found his support crumbling as more hegemony worlds declared neutrality or switched sides entirely. His rigid military structure could not adapt to an enemy that treated captured soldiers as guests rather than prisoners. "They are destroying our discipline," he complained to his remaining officers. "How can we maintain order when the enemy shows our troops that alternatives exist?" Counselor Nixera faced similar problems as Trade Federation member worlds began to adopt human economic models that emphasized innovation over regulation. Entire sectors were experiencing unprecedented growth as they embraced human principles of free trade and individual enterprise. The final phase of the war began when Sage Zenthira proposed a galactic peace conference. By this time, over half the galaxy's inhabited worlds had declared neutrality or openly supported the human position. "This conflict has shown us that the old ways are no longer sufficient," she announced. "It is time to build a new galactic order based on cooperation, rather than domination." Admiral Hyojin accepted the proposal immediately, as did most of the neutral worlds. Admiral Vextar and Counselor Nixara found themselves isolated, their own governments pressuring them to negotiate rather than continue a war they could no longer win. But the war's end would not come through surrender or conquest. It would come through the recognition that humanity had already won the most important victory of all. They had proven that a better way of living was possible. The galaxy was ready for change, and humanity had shown them what that change could look like. The new Nexus Prime was very different from the old one. Where the previous galactic capital had been a symbol of rigid order and controlled hierarchy, the rebuilt station reflected the diversity and creativity that humanity had brought to galactic civilization. Ambassador O Yunseo walked through the main plaza, watching as beings from dozens of species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. A group of young hegemony engineers was collaborating with human designers to create ships that combined the best of both technologies. Nearby, Trade Federation economists were learning human principles of adaptive commerce from Dr. Choi So-young. "It is remarkable how much has changed in just 2 years," said Sage Zenthira, joining O at the observation deck overlooking the plaza. "Change was inevitable," O replied. "The old system was too rigid to survive contact with human adaptability. The question was whether that change would come through war or cooperation. The Galactic Accord that had ended the war was unlike any treaty in galactic history. Instead of establishing new boundaries or determining winners and losers, it had created a framework for continuous adaptation and growth. Admiral Kim Hyojin had been offered command of the new Galactic Defense Force, but she had insisted on sharing leadership with officers from other species. The result was a command structure that emphasized cooperation over dominance. "Admiral," Captain Lee Bo-ram reported as she entered the command center, "the first joint exploration mission to the Galactic Core is ready to depart." Hyojin nodded with satisfaction. The exploration fleet represented everything the new galactic order stood for. Human ships worked alongside vessels from every major species, their crews integrated at every level. Captain Yoon Ji-hoon was commanding one of the exploration vessels, the New Horizon. His crew included humans, Velcarians, former hegemony officers, Trade Federation scientists, and Crystal Empire philosophers. It should have been a recipe for chaos, but human leadership principles had taught them all to value different perspectives. Captain, his hegemony tactical officer, reported, "We are detecting unusual energy signatures from the galactic core region. Whatever is out there, it is unlike anything in our databases." "Good," Yoon replied with a smile that his alien crew members had learned to recognize. "If it was in our databases, it would not be worth exploring." Commander Park Jin-woo was leading the integration training program that had become a model for the entire galaxy. The facility on New Geneva had become a pilgrimage site for young beings who wanted to learn human methods of creative problem-solving. "The key to human success," he explained to a class of mixed-species cadets, "is not that we are stronger or smarter than other species. It is that we refuse to accept that any problem is unsolvable." One of his students, a young hegemony officer named Kexwin, raised her hand. "But, Commander, what if the established methods are more efficient?" "Then use the established methods," Park replied, "but always be ready to abandon them if they stop working. Efficiency means nothing if it leads to failure. Engineer Nam Tae-sung had established the Interspecies Technology Institute, where researchers from different worlds worked together to solve problems that no single species could handle alone. The Institute's first major success had been the development of universal life support systems that could sustain any known form of life. "We are not trying to make everyone the same," he explained to a group of visiting dignitaries. "We are trying to make it possible for everyone to work together." Despite being different, Dr. Choi So-young had founded the Cultural Exchange Institute, which had become the galaxy's premier center for learning about different ways of thinking and living. Her work had shown that the diversity of galactic civilization was its greatest strength, not a problem to be solved. "Every species brings something unique to the galactic community," she said during a lecture to new diplomats. Humans brought adaptability and creative thinking. Valkyrians brought precision and careful analysis. The hegemony brought discipline and organization. The Trade Federation brought economic knowledge. The Crystal Empire brought wisdom and patience. She paused to let the words sink in before continuing. "The old system tried to force everyone to conform to a single standard. The new system celebrates our differences and finds ways to make them work together." Kang Dae-ho had been appointed as the head of the Department of Lost Civilizations, a new organization dedicated to finding other species that might have been overlooked or forgotten. His first success had been the rediscovery of the nomad fleets, spacefaring peoples who had been dismissed as pirates but were actually the descendants of an ancient civilization. "The galaxy is larger and more diverse than we ever imagined," he reported to the Galactic Council. "There are entire civilizations out there that we have never contacted, and others that we lost touch with centuries ago." Lieutenant Bae Sung-min had become something of a legend throughout the galaxy. His boarding actions during the war had been studied by military academies on dozens of worlds. But he was more proud of his post-war work, establishing refugee assistance programs. "The best victory," he often said, "is the one that helps your former enemies become your future allies." President Seo Min-ho and the Earth government had faced the challenge of managing humanity's rapid expansion while maintaining the values that had made them successful. The solution had been to establish a federal system that gave individual colonies significant autonomy while maintaining overall coordination. "We learned from watching the galactic powers," he explained to a gathering of colonial governors. "Centralized control becomes brittle when it grows too large, but coordinated cooperation can expand indefinitely." The changes were not limited to governments and institutions. Throughout the galaxy, individuals were embracing human concepts of personal freedom and creative expression. Art, music, and literature were experiencing a renaissance as beings who had been taught to conform began to explore their individual talents. Captain Jang Woo-bin was commanding the first truly integrated crew in galactic history aboard the exploration ship Unity of Purpose. His crew included beings from 17 different species, all working together as equals. "Captain," his Crystal Empire navigator announced, "we have reached the coordinates for the ancient signal source that Engineer Nam detected. What they found there would have been impossible under the old galactic order. It was a space station, built by a species that had disappeared millennia ago, but it was still partially operational. The station's AI had been waiting for someone to arrive who could think beyond established patterns." "Greetings," the AI said in ancient galactic standard. "I have been waiting for beings who could understand that the greatest discoveries come from asking questions that others believe have already been answered." The AI's creators had been explorers and inventors, much like humans. They had disappeared not through war or disaster, but because they had chosen to journey beyond the galaxy itself, seeking new challenges and discoveries. They left this station as a gift for whoever came after them, the AI explained. It contains the knowledge of how to build ships that can travel between galaxies. Dr. Lim Yu-jin, who had become one of humanity's closest alien allies, was working on the engineering team that studied the ancient technology. The discoveries were revolutionary, but they also raised new questions about the nature of the universe itself. If one species could build ships capable of intergalactic travel, she asked Admiral He-jin, how many others might be out there? And what happened to the galaxy before our current civilizations developed? The questions were daunting, but they were also exciting. The galaxy had learned that the greatest adventures began with admitting how much they did not know. As the story drew to a close, the characters who had begun as strangers or enemies found themselves working together toward common goals. Ambassador O worked with Sage Zenthira to establish new principles of interspecies diplomacy. Admiral Hae-jin coordinated with former enemies like Admiral Vexitar, who had grudgingly come to respect human methods. Even General Krex Dar, released from human custody after the war's end, had become an advocate for military reform. His experience as a prisoner had shown him that there were alternatives to the rigid hierarchies he had always known. I spent my entire career believing that strength came from following orders without question, he admitted during a military reform conference. But I learned that true strength comes from knowing when to question orders and when to find better solutions. The galaxy was embarking on its greatest adventure yet. The discovery of intergalactic travel technology had opened up possibilities that no one had imagined. But more importantly, the changes in galactic civilization had created a foundation for handling whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. Captain Boram, now an admiral in her own right, was preparing to lead the first expedition to the neighboring Andromeda galaxy. Her fleet would include the most advanced ships ever built, crewed by beings from across the galaxy who had learned to work together as a single people. We do not know what we will find out there, she told her crew before departure. But we know that whatever challenges await us, we will face them together. As the expedition fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading for the space between galaxies, Kang Day H,